Okay. Just checking the stream real quick. Seeing where we stand on the volume. Okay. Hello and welcome to Forged by Light. I'm Code Echo, and today we're going to be taking a look at what's in my garage. So first off, we've got the T1A6X1. And this was a free tank a while back. It's got my 6 years of service stamp on it. I do like this tank quite a bit for low level play or low tier play. It's pretty reliable, has a nice fast firing gun. And then of course we have the Christmas lights tanks, which are the T7 combat cars. Every single one of them except for the Shark and the Standard. They just come with like different colors on them and things, so kind of redundant to give us 5 tanks, but you know, it was a cheap pack. Whatever. And then we have an M22 Locust. Nice little American tank. Not like something I would go riding into any situation with. Like, it's low tier, yeah. It's fast. I don't particularly care much for light tanks. So, I mean, it's just something I don't play with a lot, I guess. And then, like, the Blitz in here. Again, another free tank. I actually quite like this tank on low tier. Like, if you're top tier in a game with this thing, you basically can wreck just about anything thanks to its fast-firing guns. And the MTLS 1G14 is just the same thing. It just doesn't have the Christmas pattern on it. I don't know where I got this tank. M5 Stewart. I honestly don't know why this is still in my garage. I couldn't tell you why. I don't play it. The Lycan. Another... Well, this is one of the monster tanks. And I do like the monster tanks quite a bit. So... Well, I like most of the monster tanks. Again, I don't care much for this tank. I don't use it that often. If I do use it, it usually doesn't go well for me. T2 medium. Why? I couldn't tell you why this is in my garage. I think I just have this for playing with a couple friends who are newer to the game and haven't really gotten up that far. So we're just going to pass on this one. The Ram 2. This is a pretty good tank. I do like this tank quite a bit. Pretty reliable. I don't get to play it as much as I would like, but still like this tank. Then we have my favorite lines of tanks, the Shermans. Of course, the M4A2E4, right here. The Ripper, same thing as the M2A, or the M4A2E4, just with a different paint job. The M4 improved. Don't really play this one too much, actually. I don't have much to say on this one. Then we get into to my favorite tanks, in all honesty. The actual Shermans themselves. Like, I love the M4A3E8 Sherman. It's a fun tank to play. it can bounce some shots, more than you think it could, actually. And it has a very good range on that cannon. M4A3E2 has better armor than the E8, but less mobility. Yeah, less mobility, more armor. The Fury is... I love the Fury. The Fury is probably my favorite out of the Shermans that I've played with so far. Then we have the Thunderbolt. It's pretty much the same as the Sherman, or as the Fury. It's another Sherman, another E8 actually. So, I mean, if it's a Sherman, I'm going to be behind the wheel, you know? M46 Patton KR. This is not a tank I'd like to play too much. Don't really have a specific reason, just don't care for it, I guess. The Undertaker, this is a new tank. Like, the main way I've heard people getting this one is just by buying the Season Pass, which is kind of expensive, or just, I think that the only other way is to just buy it outright. You can't earn this one in the Season Pass, I don't believe. But it's a decent tank. I've had some fun games with it. The Stone Cold, again, another decent tank, actually. I do quite like this one and the Undertaker. The T-14, this was a fun tank to play, for me, a long time ago. Ever since... It's been like 2 years since I've actually enjoyed playing this tank. It just doesn't seem to hold up as well today as it used to. But, you know, good times. The Minuteman. God, I love this tank. It's a beautiful work of art. This thing is absolutely beautiful. I don't really have a lot to say. It's a good, powerful tank. It can survive a whole lot of shit. Like, if it gets shot, that shot's usually not going through, at least in my experience. The T-32A Proto. This is a fun tank. At first, I absolutely hated this tank. I got this in a... crate of some sort. Forget which crate it was. Think it was a Heroes. But this tank is ridiculously fun. Believe it has like 3 shots in it per reload, so does have quite a long reload time, but that's to be expected when you're dealing as much damage as this damn thing does. Love this tank. This is a Bog Horror. This thing is just awesome. Nothing pins it. Like, nothing pins this tank. It's just kind of slow, and honestly, you would think its concealment would be a lot higher due to it being literally covered in grass and leaves and moss and all that, and vines, but it's not. It's very easy to spot. The Jackson. I don't play tank destroyers too much anymore, and I forget what I was doing with this. I believe I was grinding up to the tier 10. But at some point I just stopped, I guess. I don't really get to play this one anymore. So, that's kind of just in here. The Hellcat 105. This was a free tank for us on Xbox. Like, we got this free. It's a good tank. It can't survive for very long, but then again, it is a tank destroyer. For some reason, people play it like a light more often than not. which often ends in them getting blown up. The Scorpion. I have not played this one as often as I'd like to. I do enjoy just how powerful its gun can be at times, but this thing only has 1mm of armor all the way around, and a very exposed ammo rack there on the back. So if some little light tank comes up behind you, you're done. But it is very fast when moving forward. So you can probably get away from anything bigger than a light tank. The M7 Priest. God, this thing can wreck on low tier. Like, if this thing gets in a top tier game, or if this thing is top tier in its game, it's great. Like, if you're a tier 3 going against 1 and 2s, which does happen sometimes, this thing will absolutely help you wreck. The Equalizer, this one's a bit of a toss-up. I enjoy it, but it's complicated to use. It has 2 separate cannons that you can equip to it. One of them is a 4-shot barrage cannon, which deals less damage for its shots, but covers a wider area, and unleashes 4 shots in the span of like 4 seconds. So this thing is great, but at the same time it can be terrible because it really does not have armor. And not only that, it's a quick old artillery tank, I guess. But, I mean, if a light tank gets a hold of you, you're done. I mean, it's an artillery tank, obviously. But, it can deal some damage, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to pull off the barrage fire on this thing. More for dealing damage to components. The Covenanter. I forget why I was grinding this, in all honesty. I obviously didn't get far grinding it either. I think this is one of those things I was going to do, but I dropped, and it's just kind of sitting here. The Snake Bite. This thing is ridiculously fun to play. Absolutely insane speed. You can jump this thing like you're the Dukes of Hazzard. You can jump this thing like the General Lee. This is the one light tank that if you asked me to play, I would probably play. Any of the others, I'd just be like, I don't like lights. This is the one. This is my one favorite light. The Sentinel. I got this as a joke. I was actually going to name its driver Emu War, just to make fun of one of my Australian friends, because I do believe this is an Australian tank. The Matilda Black Prince. I don't care for this tank. I really, really don't. I don't care for it. Like, it's powerful for its tier, I guess. Like, I just don't have a very good record with this tank. Like, if I come across one in a battle, it'll often kill me. But I can never seem to kill anybody with it. The Frostbite is it's a Sherman Grizzly. You know how I feel about Shermans already. The Boilermaker, another Sherman. Surprise, surprise. So many Shermans in my garage. I know. The Cromwell B. This tank plays a lot like a light tank, in all honesty. But it does have better armor than the light tanks. So I do enjoy playing this one. The Firefly VC. Yes, I know. Another Sherman. Yeah, imagine that. The Jackal M4A4 FL10. This is a fun tank. Oh, and it's a Sherman. Imagine that. The Centennial. Now, this is actually one of my favorite tanks. Like, this thing, I'm not sure if it's as dreaded as it used to be, but this thing used to be absolutely dreaded on the battlefield. Thanks to those damn sandbags. The Atomic Centurion. Now, I also love Centurions, and you'll notice that here in a minute. And this is probably by far my favorite of the Centurions. Except for the Bellerophon, which I don't have, but I want. Like, there is no bigger desire for me right now than a Bellerophon. Oops, switching back. Hit the wrong button. The Huntsman Centurion. For some reason, I just don't do as well in the Huntsman as I do in the Atomic. I mean, they're essentially the same tank. But for some reason, I just do not have as good of an experience in the Huntsman as I do in the Atomic. Now, the Chimera. This is actually one of my favorite tanks to just sit here and look at. I do love this tank. Like, this would be one of those tanks that I would absolutely love to use more, but right now I'm doing a lot of mercenary contracts, so I really don't get to use it as much. But I do love this tank. The Excelsior. I actually had a pretty good run in this tank when I still used it. There's a lot of things that you'll notice in my garage that I just don't use anymore, for one reason or another. But I'm pretty sure the whole reason I had to stop using Excelsior is because I started going after mercenary contracts, and most of my contracts would be at a higher tier than 5 or wouldn't require a heavy tank, for some reason. The Tog 2. I don't have to say anything. It's the Tog 2. Togboat. It's long. I love this tank. It's hilarious. If you have a problem with me loving this tank, please say so in the comments. The British Bulldog. I mean, I like this tank. It's a fun tank. It's a Churchill. It's a bit slow, but it does have the gun to back it up. And after a minor interruption, we are back. We have the Paladin's I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. And I'm not going to try. I'm pretty sure it is just referred to as Action X in the game, so... This is a very nicely designed tank. Very nice, paint on it. Of course, I applied the green myself, and do absolutely love the contrast it gives. Normally, it's just a gray. The Electo, I'll be honest, I was grinding up to Death Star with this thing. I don't care about this tank. I hate this tank. Like, I absolutely get wrecked by this tank. So I assume it's a good tank. But I cannot stand this tank. The Diamondback, earned this in AWP, actually, I believe. And certainly glad I did, because I don't... I used to play Tank Destroyers a lot. I really did. Like, Tank Destroyers and Artillery used to be my mains. But I've kind of gotten past that, I guess. I don't enjoy being, a Tank Destroyer quite as much. So, Sexton 1. Now, I still play Artillery. And I'm good with Artillery. This thing. Fun Tank. Very good. Not a lot I can say about it, really. Why is that in my garage? I'll be honest. I forgot this was in here. I do believe I had just gotten one of my friends into the game a couple weeks back. And, he was running... He was starting off at Tier 1 naturally, and... I believe I just picked this up to run with him. This is a Panzer T-15. Or Panzer Kampfwagen T-15, anyway. It's a Tier 3. I've never used it. I think I got this for free in some bundle. I cannot remember. Pretty sure I did. But as I've said, if I can avoid playing light tanks, I will, to the point where I will never use one. If I can avoid it. The Hollenhund. So, when I took my break from World of Tanks, and I came back, I absolutely loved this thing, despite it being a light tank. And I was disappointed with it, because before I took my break from World of Tanks, it used to have a skull hanging on the end of that chain there, at the front of the barrel, near the muzzle brake. But apparently somebody complained about that being Nazi imagery, despite it being a German tank from World War II. And guess what? Back in World War II, these tanks would have been Nazi tanks. So good luck with that argument. But yeah, they removed that skull because of that, which, in my opinion, is completely just incredibly stupid. This is a Panzer Kampfwagen S-35-739F. I don't know what to say about this tank. It's fun. It's a medium tank. Like, it's okay to use. This is the Grulzend Panzer tank. This tank I absolutely love. I've actually seen the show. So, I mean, what can I say? I think I have 2 of these tanks, actually. 2 of the same kind. Not the same exact tank, of course, but, you know. See what I mean? This is a Panzer IV Hydrostat. It's pretty much the same as the Grulzend Panzer. It has a higher survivability and believe that, yeah, this one has a slightly lower mobility. Not sure why I have this one, in all honesty. But it is a pretty decent tank. No, wait, this is not a hydrostat. Is it? I don't know. Okay. Then I'm not entirely sure if that's a hydrostat or not. This is a Crafts Panzer IV. This tank I enjoy. I love its design. Wait, let me check something real quick. Okay, so yeah, that is just the Girls in Panzer tank. It's not the hydrostat. I do not have a hydrostat. In fact, it's been so long since I played medium tanks, due to all the mercenary contracts I grind, that I've kind of forgotten what tanks are in here, you know? Just that sort of thing. But yeah, back to the Panzer, or the Crafts Panzer IV. This is a fun tank. Pretty much the same as the Girls in Panzer. Has destroyed armor on one side. Has a bit of foliage there. Has a nice camo pattern. Just a very nice design in general. A little more foliage on the back. And barbed wire. And if anybody knows me, barbed wire is always a plus. Unless you're that one chick from the second Silent Hill movie, in which case you will disagree with me, considering what happened to her. Yeah, maybe don't look that up. Or was that from the first Silent Hill movie? I forget, but there was a scene in one of the Silent Hill movies, which they're not very good movies, but there was this one chick who, you know what, never mind, just let it be known that it involves barbed wire going up her skirt and then, like, tearing her in half. So this is the Ram Panzer. This is the Ram Panzer. If you want to ram somebody, you use this thing. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this one. This is the Ram Panzer. This is the Panzer 3K. I don't get to play this one much. I do believe I got this in a free bundle, thanks to Xbox Live Ultimate a while back. I just haven't used it yet. Not that much, anyway. Okay, so Panzerkampfwagen 4S. Yeah, I'm not even attempting with that last word on that. I don't speak that much German, and I refuse to try and pronounce that. 100 likes on this video, and I will pronounce that. Because this is going on YouTube. But I've always said, this tank is what happens when you let your gardener sit in on your tank design meeting. Because as you can see on the sides, it has fences for some reason. Not what I'd put on a tank. I guess it could mitigate the shells and slow them down a bit, but I'd just go with armor plate. I wouldn't put a damned fence on the side of my tank. But I own this tank and I enjoy it. This is the Crafts Panzer. The Revenant Crafts Panzer. Or Panther, sorry. It's early in the morning. I just got home from work and decided to start recording this. I enjoy this tank. Like, I love its paint scheme. I like the Panther in general. I like the fact that it's beat to hell and back, and it's designed to look like a piece of wreckage. Which, if you didn't know, this tank kind of becomes a Revenant during the Halloween event. So, it's pretty cool. The Panzer 58 Mutts. I don't care for this tank. Like, I like it and all, but Like, it's not something I would choose to run over other things. Like, this is something I would run if I just want something to screw around in for a little while. The captured KV-1. This tank is amazing. I love this tank. This is a great tank. Yeah, I mean, it's a KV-1. This one can actually train both German and, Russian crews, I believe. So, this is actually a pretty good tank to have. The Tiger 217, I personally do not have a good record with this tank. I really don't. This tank is... I don't know. This one just seems a bit off to me for some reason. I don't have a great run with it. That's all I really have to say on it. I'm sure people do have great runs with these, but I do not. The Sturm VK36.01H. This is a decent tank. I've only played one game with it. I believe I converted most of the XP off of it already, though. So it's sitting at 176 XP. But I had fun playing it. And that's what matters to me, I guess. The hammer. Now, remember when I said I didn't have a great run with the Tiger 217? This is the Tiger I like. The hammer. I've heard a lot of people shit-talk this tank, but I absolutely love this tank. I like the fact that it has all the little heavy tank symbols down the sides there, and there. I love the fact that it has the German flag there on the sides there, and it leads off into, like, some slices on it. And I love the little star on the back. I love the little eagle. I put my own little German flags on the sides here. Love the fact that it has stars on it. And a star on the top along with a German flag up here. I love this tank. This tank has a very good design. I love its patterning. It's just amazing. The paint job is great on this thing. I've had a very good run with this tank. The King Tiger, wish I could say the same. Again, this kind of just feels off to me. It looks great, but it just doesn't seem to hold up as well. The Hidden Stug, again, I don't play tank destroyers too often, but I do love the design on it. I love the fact that it's damaged. I love the fact that it looks battle-worn. I love the fact that it's kind of using, what's left of a building as a camouflage. In all reality, if you were in an actual war zone, you probably wouldn't see this thing coming. Like, if it's just sitting in a ruined building, you wouldn't see it coming. The Krupp Steyr Waffentrager. Yeah, I haven't used this tank yet, but I did decorate it in anticipation of getting to use it. Because I do know this is a decent tank. The M4A1... I don't speak French. I'm not pronouncing that. I do believe this is part Sherman, though. Yeah, this is part Sherman. So, you know I like this tank. Like, it's a Sherman. I love the tank. Yeah. Another Sherman. Surprise. I know, right? No, wait, this one is not a Sherman, surprisingly. Despite being an M4. But, yeah, I have had a decent run in this tank. Not much to say about it. I do like all of the sandbags. They do provide a bit of extra armor. It's just got a very nice paint job on it, too. The Nomad, I don't care. Like, I don't care what people say about this tank. I don't care how much people love it. I absolutely hate this tank. There is nothing you can do to make me like this tank. The AMX 105 AM. I was just grinding this out to get to the higher tier or French artillery. I've heard they're really good. The LE... The 105 LEFH18B2. That is a mouthful. And this is also part of why I hate French tanks, is because they're all like that. They all have these really, really stupid designations. Just call it something normal, please. The T-46. Believe I was grinding something with this. I forget what. The Valentine 2, I got this free off of Twitch, which is why it has the Elite Amethyst camo pattern, the Twitch symbol, and a Twitch flag. The T-29. This came in some pack. I forget which one. But it's a Soviet tank. What do I need to say besides Soviet bias? The Honor T-28E with F-30. I don't know what the F-30 is, really. But I do love the paint job on this tank. It's a very nice tank. You know, just... I like this tank. This one can actually deflect shells. Like, you're going to have hell pinning this thing from the front. Like, just trying to pin this thing from the front, the only thing you're really going to pin are those damn treads. And it can lay down some fire. Like, it lays down heavy fire. The Fighting Girlfriend T-34. Oh my god. This tank is great. There's actually a story behind this tank. In fact, I advise you look up the story behind this tank. Because basically what it is a woman's husband was killed in war. And she basically privately funded her own tank. And in the middle of battle, if the tank had its treads shot off, she would get out of the tank and personally fix the treads. Yeah, the woman who drove this was a badass. The T-34-88. I do like the T-34s. They are very reliable and can bounce shells from hell. And they have a decent amount of firepower behind that. Another T-34. This one's an 85M. Again, what can I say? I just said it. T-34s. They bounce shells from hell. The Ruddy. Another T-34-85. Like, you're going to have a lot of T-34s in my garage. You're going to have a lot of Shermans. Anytime I can get a T-34 of any sort, or a Sherman, I'm going to. Like, it's a guarantee. But this one I actually love because there's a dog in it. Like, if you look at the little crew, there's a dog. And the dog will actually, like, bark when the Sixth Sense pops up, which I find adorable and awesome. This one's actually from a TV show called, I believe it's 4 Tank Men and a Dog or something like that. This tank's called Rudy, and I love it. This is probably one of my favorite tanks in my garage, despite the fact that I don't get to use it much anymore. I still whip this one out from time to time. Yeah, if you didn't see this coming from a mile away, you were blind. The Heavy Metal Hero T-34-85M is in my garage, obviously. Like, obviously. It has extra armor thanks to the treads. It's got extra armor thanks to the treads up front. It's just got a nice design to it. It's got little sandbags. Got a little rucksack there on the side and a little box there. I love this tank. This is one of my favorites. The Motherland. Oh my god, this was my tank back in the day. Again, bounces shells from hell and can actually send your enemies to hell. Has a very nice paint job. Has a very nice designed little star there on the side. Churchill 3. It's Churchill. I mean, it's the same as the British Bulldog, really. The Bogatir, this thing is this thing. This is the Bogatir. Like, it's the Bogatir, what else do I have to say? If you know World of Tanks, you know what this tank is about. Like, this thing sends people to hell with the express package on their flight. I do love the stripes on it, and I do absolutely love the sword. And I only actually recently got the Bogatir Crew, which has the Iron Mace skill, which reduces the amount of fall off on your damage due to range, and that makes this tank even better. So, if you have the opportunity, pick this tank up. Pick it up. The bear. Oh, there's actually a story behind this tank. So, the story is that this dude, called Nameless Saint, I love his streams. I watch them every time I get a chance to. If you like World of Tanks, definitely tune in to Nameless Saint. You'll love it. He's a community contributor, or whatever they're called. Basically a partner with World of Tanks. And, he was doing giveaways in one of his streams, and this was on the docket for the prize. And one dude won two tanks in a row, and since I had been in the stream since the beginning, he said, okay, well, since I already won one, give it to Code Echo, since he's been here and active since the beginning and has entered both of these giveaways and hasn't won. Forget that dude's name right now, it's just slipping my mind. I believe I watched Nameless Saint and have been in a platoon with him once. But that's an awesome dude. And I was given a list of tanks to choose from, and I chose this one. And Nameless Saint was like, are you sure? The rest of these tanks that I'm offering here are tier 8s. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I've actually been eyeing this tank for a while. I don't get a chance to play it as much as I would like, but I do love running this tank. Like, it's just fun. It's a KV-122. Soviet. I don't care much for Soviets, but this one's fun. You know, besides the motherland and the Soviet bias. Yeah, I know. The Dreadnought, I had some spare gold, and I picked this thing up. I haven't really gotten to run it yet. I ran it once, and the game freaked out on me for some reason, made me drive in circles, so I had to close out the game. When I came back, I was still there. I don't know what caused that, but, I mean, I have the tank. I've heard it's a very nasty tank. The Greenwich KV-5. Now this I know for a fact is a very nasty tank. Like, this is one of the nastier tanks in the game. It's mean. It deals a ton of damage. It's actually got a very nice scale pattern and dragon here on the side. And this is actually one of my preferred Soviet tanks. Like, this is also one of the monster tanks. When this thing activates during the, or awakens during the Halloween event, that dragon on the side there, the three-headed dragon, glows. And it just looks cool. The SU-100Y. This used to be one of my go-to tanks back when I played Tank Destroyers. But since then, like I've said, I've fallen off of Tank Destroyers and gone with heavy tanks and medium tanks mainly. The SU-5. Yeah, this thing has no range whatsoever. But it's powerful. But it has no range. But it's powerful. But it has no range. You see where I'm going with this. This is a very fragile tank. It has no range. But it's powerful. So, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up there. I'm just grinding this one out to get to the next one and go for the Soviet artillery line. I mean, it obviously has no range. Look at that little stub of a barrel. Like, somebody get this damn thing some Viagra. Please, for the love of God. The Chiha, ugh. Okay, so I'm going to admit something. I hate Chinese tanks. I hate them with a burning passion. Like, I do not like them, I cannot stand them. But I was trying to grind out the Chinese heavies at one point. I believe I was trying to grind out the Chinese. I was trying to grind out the Chinese something. Yeah. No. I can't stand Chinese tanks. I cannot run them worth shit. I think it was actually Chinese mediums I was trying to run. Or trying to grind. But I cannot grind these things without absolutely hating them. So, this just sits in my garage here, gathering dust. The Dragon. I don't care about this tank. Like, I don't care. It's a nice tank to look at. I believe it's one of the monster tanks, and it came in a bundle, which is the reason I have it. Otherwise, it's a Chinese light tank. I don't care to run it that much. It's a nicely designed tank, and I do like to sit here and look at it, and I do admire how pretty it is. I mean, look at that barrel. Just look at it. It's got a dragon head on the barrel. It's got a very nice green and a very nice red paint job. And that's really all I can say. It's a Chinese light tank. I don't like Chinese tanks that much. The Type 59 too, again, I don't care about Chinese tanks. You'll never convince me to care about these Chinese tanks. This thing I have not had a good run with. I don't care about this tank. I don't want to run it. And the reason I have this is I got it out of a crate. Like, that's the only reason it's here. Otherwise, I would not own this tank. It does have a nice paint job, but otherwise, I don't care. The Ashigaru Teke, I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't speak much Japanese. I speak a little bit, but I don't speak much. But this was the 4th anniversary special edition. Let me get that zoomed in. This is a fun tank to run. And since it's the 4th anniversary, I actually slapped on my 4 years of service stamp. And I do enjoy running this tank. Like, it's fun. It's a tier 2 light tank that's actually very fun to run. The Senshi. Oh my god, yes, I love this tank. Like, most of the tanks in my garage, I do love. So, fun story. I actually got this tank back when they were running, like, the school wars or whatever they were called, where you had the judo school, the kendo school, all those. It was like a Japanese martial arts school thing. And, I like this tank. I might not have very many good games playing it, but I do like this tank. Like, I enjoy it. I love its design. I love the little cat-looking thing, or the little cat-looking dust cover here on the front. I love the, flag here on the back. I think it's a very nice touch. I love its camo pattern, and I do believe in honor of the kendo school, which I played for during that season of it. I put Samurai Spirit here on the front and the side. And I put little, lotuses here on the other side of the turret with my symbol. I do love this tank. The Kaiju. Another one of the monster tanks. So, if you can't tell, this one is based on Godzilla and has, like, his cracked scales. And it is absolutely amazing when this thing awakens. Like, the Kaiju on the side will start to glow, and I do believe this one, like, spits flames or something. Like, blue flames or purple flames. I can't remember which. It's been so long since Halloween. And so long since I got to play this tank. But yeah, it has Kaiju written there on the side. It's based on Godzilla. There's nothing you don't need to love about this tank. It's slow. It's mean. It's powerful. It's absolutely great. I love this tank. The Primo Victoria. There is nothing I need to say here. If you know me, you know my favorite band is Sabaton. And you know that the day this released, I jumped all over this. It has the lead singer of Sabaton as the crew. It'll actually have special music when you go into battle with it. It's got like it's got the chest plate thing he wears when he does concerts. And in general, this is just a heavy metal tank. Like, it's even got the band's equipment in the back, like their guitars, their drums, that sort of thing. And it has a very nice pattern on it. It has a Swedish flag with the Sabaton symbol on the side there, and on the side here. And, I mean, I love this tank. The SAV M43. Believe it or not, this thing can one-shot things at Tier 4. This thing can one-shot. And I think that's just absolutely ridiculous, and I do like this tank destroyer thanks to that. The Stark STRVS1. I'll be honest, I bought this because it's ridiculous to look at. That's the whole reason. It's ridiculous to look at. Like, it's painted up as a Swedish flag, and I even put an extra Swedish flag on the back just for good measure. Like, this thing has the siege mode where it can, like, lower itself and give you more turret, more of an ability to aim with your turret. Because if you don't go into siege mode with this thing, you can't aim for shit. Like, I'm just going to be real there. You cannot aim for shit on this thing if you don't go into siege mode. Because it sits like that, and the turret can't move down at all. It's a decent tank, though. This. Okay. This thing, I just have for shits and giggles, if I'm being honest. This is just a joke tank for me. Like, look at it. It's a little Tier 2 light tank. I love playing it. Like, if you actually zoom in, like, most of it's covered by the little menu there. But yeah, this is just a little tankette. Like, it's a clown car tank. It only fits 2 people, though. I could not imagine how cramped the... let me put it this way. That shovel is almost as big as the entire front of this tank. And I find that hilarious. Like, normal size shovel is nearly the size of this... is nearly as long as this tank is wide. The 7 TP. I was grinding with this for something. I don't know what I was grinding, if I'm being honest. The 10 TP. Still don't know what I was grinding with this. I gave up on that grind a while back. And we get to the Italian tanks. These tanks are jokes. I hate the Italian tanks. Almost as much as I hate the Chinese tanks. Now we get into my mercenary tanks. The Thresher. This is the first contract I ever did, actually. The only reason I really did the contract for this tank is that it is a pretty nice to look at tank. I like all the chains that hang off of it. It kind of gets to that edgy side of me that I honestly would love to forget that I had back in middle school. And I think we all would. But, I still love chains. Like, if it's got chains on it, I love it. Then we have the Lawgiver. I forget why I did this contract. Like, in my opinion, this tank is just absolute shit. Like, it's cool to look at and all, but once you actually get in it, this tank is absolute shit, in my opinion, because it doesn't play like a light tank should. Like, light tanks have a lot of mobility. This thing is classed as a light tank. Has some decent firepower. Kind of. Not really. Is very slow to aim for some ungodly reason. Just very slow. And that's even with the with the minus 10 with a negative 10% to aim time. And it's just a very slow moving tank. And it doesn't really have the armor to back that up. Like, I wanted this tank, but I hate this tank. Like, this is not a fun tank. I don't like this tank. I've heard other people say they like it, but I just hate this tank. It's complete shit to me. Thunder Bucket. Now, this is a powerful tank. I've actually one-shot people with this in matches. This tank is fun. I enjoy this tank. This is a tank destroyer. I love its design. It's got, like, manhole covers or something. Or are those wheels? Those are either... Now that I look at it, I think those are wheels. Yeah. At first I thought those were manhole covers. But it has wheels here as shields, which is actually kind of cool in my opinion. It's got spaced armor, and it's got all these tank shells around it that actually serve as extra armor. So this is a decently armored tier 4... Oh wait, this isn't a tank destroyer, this is a light tank. This is a very decently armored light tank, in all honesty. Like, spaced armor on the sides is great. Like, there's nothing I don't like about this tank, really. I do like the little tooth thing it has up here. Little triangular plate. That's awesome. The big top. I haven't gotten a good run with this tank yet. I've had one... Wait, yeah, I've had one decent run with it. But most of the time when I play this tank, I somehow end up in matches where my entire team is just shit. Thanks, matchmaking. So I'll, like, go a protective flank, and you fight... You don't, like, get up close with this tank. You fight at a distance with it. Which is odd, but it's what you do. But... yeah, I have not had great runs with this tank, but I do enjoy it. Especially since it seems to be made with some sort of, Sherman. You know me. If it's got Sherman in it, I love it. The Trinity Mark II. Oh my god, I've never had a bad run with this tank, I don't think. Like, love this tank. It's one of the premium mercenary tanks. This one you fight at a distance with, obviously. Like, holy shit. Like, the barrel of this tank in this, SummerSlam arena is sticking out over people's heads. So, this thing's basically a sniper. Love this tank. Never really had a bad run with it. And I put this camouflage on myself. Normally it's just that red. But, even when it's just the red, I absolutely love the paint job on this thing. The Cruncher, I haven't really gotten to play with yet. Again, I just got this tank in a contract a few days ago. It's not a bad tank. It's just I haven't had time to run matches with it. The Needle, this tank has a learning curve. Like, this is a heavy tank. Yeah, this is a heavy tank. This tiny little thing is a heavy tank. This thing is a medium tank. But this thing is a heavy tank. Like, I don't understand that. I like the paint job. I like the little mouth it's got on the front. I like the little slit here in the armor on the side, or on the skirts on the side. I like the way that its paint is. I like the desert tan and the gray turret. This tank is fun once you know how to play it. What they suggest is that you... It's said that this thing is supposed to be able to, like, get close to enemies, but it can't. This is like the Trinity and the Big Top. You fight at a distance with this thing, as odd as that is. Like, a good distance. Because it really doesn't have that great of armor to survive fighting at, like, tier 6 or 7. And God forbid you end up in a tier 8 match with this thing, because you're going to die. Well, you won't necessarily die. You just... Like I said, there's a learning curve to it. This is a really good tank in the right hands. I happen to be really good at using this one. But I've heard people complaining about this one, saying all sorts of different shit. Sorry, my throat is very dry. But I've heard people talk shit about this tank. I rarely ever hear praise for this one. But I enjoy this tank. This is one of my, my preferred tanks, actually, if I'm running mercenary things. Despite its low tier. So... The Deadbolt. I mean, this tank's okay. I kind of like it, I kind of hate it. Like, there are times when this tank is just absolute ass, and there are times when this tank is a lifesaver. It's kind of a toss-up with this tank for me. But I do like the tank, I do like its design. I enjoy the little triangular bits of armor on here. I enjoy all the extra armor they added onto it, on the turret. Just looks cool. The Absolution, okay. This is probably my favorite mercenary tank to run. The Absolution is absolutely a great tank. Like, I have heavily customized this thing. Like, if you look at the experience on this, I have 101,000 experience on this. So I run this tank a lot. This is one of my absolute favorite tanks to play in the game. It, like I said earlier with the some of the Soviet ones, this one bounces shells to hell, and this one has the capability to send your enemies straight to hell. Like, it can't one-shot, but the damage it deals is pretty damned high. And if you look, I've actually got it painted up with camouflage here. I've got a little dog, or I've got a little paw print symbol here on the side. Dogs of War is its inscription, and then I have the American flag here, and standing on the back. But yeah, I love the design of this tank. It's got a very decent amount of armor. This armor on the side doesn't really help too much, but it mitigates. Like, the extra armor on the side mitigates. The Banana Buster. This thing I have not had many good games with. I blame the matchmaking for that, because what'll often happen is I'll get up in the field, and I'll turn around, and my team is no longer behind me. They'll have stopped at some rock to admire it or something, or have found some shiny object like a quarter in the grass, and are all huddled around it or some crap. I don't know. I don't understand it. But this tank, I assume I could be good with. I like the tank. I've actually read the Tank Girl comics, which is what this is from. I do not have the 40-watt club, crew that this would come with if you bought the actual one, but I bought it out of the premium section on the tanks tab, which the mercenary tanks do not come with their crews. That's false advertisement, and it says that they do. So, lesson learned, I guess. I would like that crew if I could ever get my hands on it. The roundabout. Now, this is a fun tank. This is a fun tank, yeah. So, this tank has, like, manhole covers as shields, which, to me, is awesome. Has, and if you didn't know, my religion is actually that I worship the Norse gods. So having like a Viking-inspired tank, to me, is really, really cool. Like, I put the little winged helmet here on the side, and on this side on the shields. And I've got another winged helmet on a flag back here. And it's got all these nice little designs on it. Like, Norse designs. And then it's got the little horned helmet there, which, by the way, Vikings didn't actually wear. I don't remember where that whole thing came from, but they never really wore horned helmets. Like, some of them might have, but it was not the majority. Like people seem to think. But this tank is really cool. I like the golden barrel on it. I'm a sucker for gold. Like, if you haven't noticed, the Minuteman and one of the other tanks that I do want, like the Bellerophon, and one of the other tanks I want, the Warlord Panther, are like all gold tanks. Like, they have gold on them. And I want them because they're gold. Oh, and I put the inscription Ragnarok on this tank. Simply because hell yeah. But this is a really good tank destroyer. This can one-shot. This can one-shot. Like, this one-shot's at tier 4. Long Bomb have not had a good run with this one. Have not cared for this one. Don't like it too much. Went ahead and customized it a bit, but I don't care for this one. Like, yeah, I'm not a fan of tanks with hull lock. If you can't tell, like, that's the whole reason I dropped tank destroyers, is because I just hate having to turn the entire tank and getting killed because of it. So, I mean, not one of the preferred tanks, but I still did its contract anyway, so whatever. You know, that sort of deal. And that, guys, is the end of my tour. I'm sorry if I gave you a bit of wrong information on this tank specifically. I'm very tired. Like, I have just gotten off of work when I started recording this. And I mistook this for the roundabout. But no, this one really doesn't one-shot at tier 4. It deals decent damage, which is great. But I would actually prefer roundabout over this. I don't tend to use this one as much as I would like to. Alright, so that does conclude the tour. And thank you for joining me for What's in My Garage. This is Code Echo with Forged by Light, signing out.